What's happening, everybody? I want to welcome you all back to the Shangri-La Lounge with a last dive bar at the end of the world and a rest stop for the road weary and the weird. This time around, I'm being joined by one of the hosts of Cemetery Row, Hannah. What's going on?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited.
So, first of all, let me say thank you for my logo. Thank you for all the work you did on all of that stuff. I really appreciate it. And this stuff looks fantastic.
Absolutely. Happy to help.
All right. So, since you wanted to talk about your show, Cemetery Row, obviously, that makes
Yes.
perfect sense. So, give me the skinny. Tell me where you all started. How long has it been going? I was trying to figure out in my head how many years in you are now, and I was
Yeah.
thinking like 5, 4, 5.
4. About
Okay.
I think it's gonna be 5 this year. Time flies.
It does.
So I have known Sheena and Lori, my two co-hosts, since we were at Ole Miss together. So
Mhm.
it's gonna be 21 years, 22
Oh,
years
wow.
this
Okay.
year. So we've known each other a while, basically half our lives.
Yeah.
Um, we've stayed in touch over the years. We used to do Halloween in New Orleans together every year. Then Lori had to get married and have babies and be lame, but we love her and her babies. And so I had just moved to Chicago. The pandemic hit, lockdown hit. Sheena lost her father first due to it. I had job stuff going on.
Yeah.
Lori was pent up at the house and she's like, "Look, let's do something. Let's have some sort of outlet." Um True crime podcasts are a dime a dozen, so we're like, we don't really want to do that. And
Yeah.
we don't want to, pigeonhole ourselves into just talking about crime.
Right.
Um and Sheena at the time, and still does, volunteers for Elmwood Cemetery in Memphis. She
Oh,
cleans
cool.
tombstones. And since we were newspaper people, which is where we met at Ole Miss's newspaper, we were like, let's tell stories about the people that we find in cemeteries,
Yeah.
because everybody ends up in one eventually,
Yep.
one way or the other.
Yeah. Seems to be the way.
Exactly. So we started, and we've been doing it, I think, 4 or 5 years this year. And it's been really exciting. We've delved into stories that we will pick a theme sometimes and I'm like, okay, fine. And then I'll get to looking into it. I'm like, oh, okay, no, this is amazing actually. So one time we sometimes pick a state at random, and we
Mhm.
pick either graves from that state or a cemetery from that state. And the state we picked was Vermont. And I was like, Vermont? What's in Vermont? I don't know what anything. And then I had like 3 or 4 stories. And I was like, these are all amazing. Oh my God. So you learn a lot, and the girls come at things from a different angle than,
Right.
a lot of Sheena stuff is very Memphis
Mhm.
oriented, a lot of really cool stories from the Memphis area. Lori's hyper fixation interest is Mount Everest and like
Okay.
explorers and stuff. So she'll always come up with like a really cool story about an explorer we've never heard of.
Mhm.
And then I am sort of the group gremlin. So I will find like either the weirdest, the goriest, the
Right.
strangest, the most bizarre thing. And they're just like, okay, that's very you coded. So, but we have a lot of fun with it. We get to tell a lot of really cool stories and things that we otherwise wouldn't have, really delved into. So
Yeah.
it's been an exciting adventure.
Did you take to it right away, or was there kind of a learning curve when you first started?
I was a radio DJ in college.
Ah. Okay.
So, and actually that's what I went to college for, because they let 18-year-olds make huge life decisions and it's a bad idea. And while I stayed involved in radio through all 4 years of college, really, really loved it. There's no money in it.
No,
So,
not really.
no, absolutely none. So did newspapers, transitioned into marketing after college. And then podcasts are sort of the natural extension
Feels
of,
like it. Yeah.
those of us who really did like radio.
Right.
So it is a bit, it's nice it feels like being back in the booth a little bit.
Mhm. See,
And
now
with
I
a few
wanted to go to
girls, we
college for
yap.
radio.
Okay.
Yeah, and I learned quick that it was kind of the dying art for the
Yeah.
most part. Like, I wanted to be Adrian Barbeau in The Fog. Like, I just wanted to sit in a
Yeah.
little room and just play late night records and not be bothered with people. And then
Right.
as I got older, I realized, well, no, they're just going to tell you what 10 songs you have to play and what you're allowed
Yeah.
to talk about and what you're not. So I I kind of fell out of favor with it. Podcasting, when it
Yeah.
popped up, felt like it was like tailor made for me, basically. Like, oh, you mean I can
Yeah.
do whatever I want? Like,
Exactly. And me and the girls love to yap, so we're never not talking. So
right. So then were there any, so obviously podcasting isn't quite the same as radio and you're working with two other people.
yeah.
Were there kind of growing pains, like feeling each other out, like who's the faster talker, who's the one that you've
Um
kind of got to pull the info out a little bit?
I will say one of the great things about my two gals is we are just we're in our element with each other.
Yeah.
So even when how we talk on the podcast is how we talk to each other in real life.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
there's really no, and especially when you've been friends with somebody for 20 years,
Yeah.
you're just such a, and there will be episodes where I will tell them I'm like I was busy with work, the subject just didn't hit with me, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
the story is not everything I wanted it to be. And then they'll have times where, I'm like, y'all, I'm sorry, I have a 14-page script. Like, everybody bear
Right.
with me because I'm about to talk for a minute.
Yeah. It's like
You
feast or
know,
famine. Yeah.
exactly. So, but we kind of find our groove. We all kind of know what the other one is gonna really like.
Mhm.
Sheena's not a huge fan of like medical kind of based
Okay.
stories. So, we know if we're gonna do something like that, she's gonna kind of do something different. And we're generally cool with it. And I think that's one of the things that makes me really like look forward to it when we're about to record is I get to spend a couple of hours just yapping with my best friends about
Yeah.
something cool.
Yeah. It's like catching up with people, basically.
Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
not like we're like talking on chat like constantly. So I'm like
Yeah.
never not talking to these girls.
So you did just recently come I don't want to say like a hiatus, but you took like a little break. You had took a couple weeks
Yes.
off for the holidays and everything. Do you find when you come back for stuff like that, do you have to like shake off the rust a little bit? Do you get kind of out of
Yeah. There's especially like it was so funny. This will be some inside baseball is we went to the last episode that we just put out was like kind of ended up being like a catch up and us kind of,
Yeah.
having some post holiday therapy amongst each other.
Yep.
And what had happened was initially, Lori, who's got two kids, traveled during the holidays. She's like, look, and we're like, hey, you're the busiest out of all of us.
Right.
Please do what you gotta do. We don't have kids, we just have cats. So she's like, well, let's just do a recap. And then we had already planned to do another cold case after the break. And so I was like, okay, we're going to do the recap in the break. And so we go to log in, we go to start, and they're like, okay, well, my story is, I was like, oh, I thought we were doing a recap, you guys. And they're like, no problem. Not a problem. We pivot,
Yeah.
So there was a little bit, especially we try not to take too long of a break. Number one, because we enjoy it and we just really kind of like hanging out with each other and talking to each other. And two, like it really does get you off your rhythm and get you off of, what you're used to doing.
Yeah.
So there is going to be a really fun cold case next time, I promise.
Nice. Very cool. That kind of works out well, right? Like, so you have an episode lined up and then you have to pivot on, and then you're like, well, I have like lined up episode for,
Exactly.
2 episodes down. I'm good.
Yeah,
You don't have to think
exactly.
about anything.
I knew what I wanted to talk about, but I just hadn't done any research on it yet because with the holidays, and I was like, okay, we're just gonna do a recap, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
I can finish my script. And they're like, okay. I'm like, oh no, we can't do that right now.
Oh, let's see. Do you have how many episodes in are you now? Do you think? Do you know?
Gosh, over 100 for
I was
sure.
gonna say you've got to be over 100 at this point.
Yeah, because I think for our 100th we did like Diamond, and so I did a man named Diamond Jack Legs or Jack Diamond Legs, who's a old New York mobster, was very, very interesting. And Sheena did Liz Taylor.
Nice.
And Lori did something else related to diamonds, but so we try to do funny
You had
themes
it
like
kind of
that.
themed out, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any? What's your favorite episode? Do you have any favorites?
Oh gosh. So one of my favorite stories that I've done was Jerry Bibb Balansock, which you know a little bit about wrestling. So
Yep.
he was a heel character. I believe his wrestling name was like Mr. X or something like that. So
Hmm.
he was masked. Um, his mama thought he died in Jonestown in Guyana,
Really?
and that was on his grave, was killed in Guyana, damn the State Department. And it's
No
like,
kidding.
okay. And so, not to spoil anything, but that is not what happened. That is not what happened at all. And so it was just a bananas series of events. There was one, we occasionally would do a grab bag when we're not sure if there's a theme that we want to do. So we're just like, come with whatever story you want. And my dad, a sailor,
Hmm.
I have said every cuss word imaginable in front of my dad. The one he does not like me to say is dick.
Okay.
Does not like it. And apparently one episode I had said it a bunch and he told me to stop saying it. And so the
You
next
got in
episode,
trouble.
yes, my dad was like, hmm? And I was like, you know what? I bet I am his child after all.
Yeah.
So the next episode, every person that we talked about was named Dick.
That's awesome.
So it was, I did Philip K. Dick and Dick Butkus, who has the greatest name on the face of the
Yeah,
planet.
that is a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah. And Lori's sticks out because his name was Dick Bong. And we were like, yes, that is
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, and God love my dad. He went to work the next day and was like, they did that to make fun of me. So he was a
No.
great sport about it. He listens to every episode, so we do love that. And so there'll be sometimes where I'm like, Dad, if you're listening, stop for like 15
Right.
seconds. Like, I need you to fast forward and then you can finish.
My mom once asked me, like she every now and then she'll ask me like, "How's the show going? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you recording anything?" And yeah, I got some stuff lined up. And she's like, maybe one of these days I'll have to listen to your show. And I had to tell her one time, like, look, Mom, I work blue, like really,
Yes.
really blue. So I think maybe you should not at all listen to my show. I'm just
Bless
warning
my
you ahead of
mom.
time. Yeah.
She tries to listen, but she like falls asleep. I don't take it personally because she falls asleep listening to things. So I'm just like, because she'll be like, well, why didn't you talk about this? I was like, did you stay awake for the whole episode? Because I did.
Maybe I did. Yeah.
You're right.
So do you have any episodes then that you're really looking forward to doing, like stuff that you haven't covered yet that might be like kind of working around in your brain?
Yeah. Actually, so one of the ways that I know your darling wife is we're both huge fans of Last Pod.
Yep.
And so from the Aaron Hernandez series, Mike Webster, one of the first football players that they diagnosed CTE in,
Mm-hmm.
I did some research on him, and I'm like, that's a super cool story. From his football career to the post career to the CTE stuff, I thought was fascinating. So I'm like, we're gonna figure out a way to kind of cover him. We try to kind of cover things that kind of align with things going on in the world and
Yeah.
the general zeitgeist. So we've done a lot. We always do Black History Month. So we always do Black Excellence, and it's always something really interesting. Pride Month we did, and then because I support gay rights and gay wrongs, I got to cover two amazing queer criminals, and I'm like, listen, it's not all sunshine and rainbow flags. Sometimes we get into some messes, okay?
Yeah. Everybody's got some bad people.
Exactly. So, and I'm like, all they did was rob a bank. It's not that big of a deal. Come on.
Yeah, there's worse things you could do.
Right, exactly. It's not, we're fine here. And then for everybody's birthday, we do one themed around their birthday. So I'm always looking forward to the things, doing stories that remind me of the girls.
Right. How has the reception been? Like, do people like? I know the comment section on anything is like a terrible gauge,
right?
Like, you should never put your toes into the comment section unless you've got the thickest skin possible.
Yes.
Do you find people are more favorable to your show, or do you get the occasional asshole that pops up?
We had like very early on, we had an iTunes review that was, was like they can't decide what they want the show to be. And I'm like, well, we're 5 episodes in. So yeah, we're still kind of figuring it out.
Yeah. Sorry for not having
Shocker.
it landed like
All
right away.
right. We're not professionals at this. We don't get paid for this. We actually pay to do this. So
yeah, enjoy your free products, sir.
Exactly. Like this is time and money spent out of our day. For the most part, we're still shocked when we have listeners that we don't know personally. It's still amazing. Like somebody, I think it was iTunes, was like, I want to invite them over for a barbecue. And we're like, who are you? Yeah, we'll show up. Like,
right?
So it's always stunning to us when I'm like, I don't know you and you listen to my show. That is amazing.
Right.
So like I said, every single time we have somebody, we recently had Ken Boggle, who is a medium, tarot reader, all around general amazing person, who was on Living for the Dead, the Hulu show. And he was like a fan of ours. I was like, are you serious? Like, what? So we're always, to me, it's always because I'm like, somebody wants to listen to us three just sit around and shoot the shit. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Love that for you guys.
I'm kind of in the same boat there. I can completely understand that feeling.
Right.
Because anytime I have a friend of mine who's going to be coming on the show in a few episodes down the line, and he was like, "Man, I'm going to get you a bunch of listeners," because he has a pretty successful YouTube channel. And I was like, "Look, dude, if you get me more than like 100 listens, my jaw is going to go straight through the floor, because it'll be like the most successful thing I've ever done."
Exactly. We'll occasionally look at our statistics. Our producer, Derek, who's phenomenal and beloved, and he does it for us out of the goodness of his heart, which we do appreciate. But he will send us like the stats, and we're like, somebody in Germany listened to this? God, why? What are you doing?
Yeah, the very first episode, this is the second episode. So the very first episode, like, I feel like all you do is you look at the stats. Like, you want to know like every little thing about how the episode is doing. And I started to see stuff pop up over in Europe, and I was trying to figure out like, well, who the hell do I know that like, I know I have a friend in Ireland, but like, who's the rest of these people? Like, I don't know any of you. I'm like, how did you find me?
Exactly. Who do I know in Brazil?
Yeah, exactly. So, you pick cemeteries for the overall theme of the show, and you said that like everybody kind of enjoys the idea of the cemetery. It's kind of a focal point. We're all going to get there one day. Have you always been fascinated with cemeteries and graveyards? Like, as a kid, did you like wander into the tombstones and all that kind of stuff?
I was a goth baby from very, very young. My family, we have a very, I will say, like, a weird way of saying it, as I guess, open relationship with death. We're not a scared of death family. We went to the cemetery on the family members' birthdays, Memorial Day. That's just something we always did. So I was very familiar with cemeteries, and very familiar with, these are loved ones. These are people who, existed and were loved by people. And, so there was always very much of, growing up in a family where just because somebody's dead doesn't mean they're gone. That was always very much a thing. And I was very a history buff. So, and a lot of history is written in cemeteries. One of the things that I learned in college was, it's like, before the 50s, see how many, dead babies there were. And then the 50s happened and not so many dead babies, know? And it's like
vaccines,
medical advances, all these vaccines being the huge one.
You hear that, anti-vaxxer crazy?
Listen, hills I will die on. Very much
and so will they.
Exactly. I'm like, one of us is. It's not going to be me. Me and my immune system have been battle tested. But and so there's so much history there, and that's always like the really fun thing of going to a new place and like, let me see what their big cemetery is like. Every place has their own architecture, almost their own traditions. The New Orleans and Louisiana cemeteries are all the above ground, and it's because of the water table and because of this, that, and the other.
Same thing with Key West.
And then the Memphis cemeteries have this really cool design that's called a cradle, grave where it's like a border kind of around the grave itself, and it's usually used
Oh,
to as a flower bed.
yeah.
And so, that's very unique to Mississippi or to Memphis, especially Chicago. You walk through there and you're like, oh, that's that person. Like, this is huge famous person that you're like, okay, well, you're just hanging out here. Very cool. And and looking all over the world too of like how different cultures do it.
Hmm.
Japan and some of the Asian countries being very much into cremation, and that's really how they do it. And so they don't really have a lot of tombstones. That's not really part of their culture. So, how
Right.
do they do this? How do they and I feel like you can tell a lot about a culture and people about how do they treat their dead? Is it
Right.
a okay, they're gone and we're not going to remember it? Is it disrespectful or is it very reverent and respectful? So it's always a really fascinating just being a history minor, being a journalism major of like, okay, what's the story behind this? Why is this
Mhm.
this way? Um, and then yeah, I was always just a creepy little goth kid. I started a coven on the playground in third grade, and they had to call my
Nice.
mom down to the school. It was a whole thing. And mom was like, "We keep the weirdo at home, okay?"
Yeah. Yeah. You can't wear
uh,
that coat out.
yeah, right. No, 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 no. Weird at home, normal around them. And I'm like, gotcha, perfect. We can do this.
So then, obviously, so you were comfortable around them from an early age. So you were kind of
Yeah,
drawn to them as you got older, and you kind of
yeah,
stuck with it. Um, do you find them like I always found? So I grew up in like a church family,
yeah,
and obviously, right next to the church, more often than not, there's a cemetery.
yeah,
And after church, I would always be like in the cemetery, wandering again, like with the oldest stones I could find, trying to see like
yeah,
how long has this been here? Who is this person? It's full of names that I've never heard. Right? Like you go to
yeah,
the same. I would go to this same church like every once or twice a week.
yeah.
I didn't know any of these people. Like I had never heard these names before. So there's all this kind of like weird history and things like that. Like so when you say let's say you're traveling, let's say you're going
Hmm.
like it doesn't have to be like out of the country, but anywhere in the
Right.
states, like do you make a point of like finding a cemetery to go to when you go to a
Yeah.
new place? Like do you always check stuff like that out?
Oh, 100%. And so, autistic fun fact of the day, um, if it is on the grounds of a church, it's a graveyard, but if it's not on the grounds of a church, it's a cemetery.
I did not know that.
Now you know.
I Now I do.
Um, so that was your autism fun fact.
That's all right. Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, so like when my parents lived in Virginia Beach. They're my dad's retiring this summer, but active duty Navy.
Mhm,
So we would go, and I'm like, let's go see the cemetery that we haven't seen. Um, we went. I was in Natchez for a visit once, and I'm like, let's go check out the Natchez Cemetery. It's one of the oldest in the state, and I think in the
mhm,
South in general. And then, of course, when you go to New Orleans, that's obviously a stop you have to make. And so, yeah, if I have time to kind of venture out, I try to find like what's the cemetery in that location, like what's
mhm.
kind of their famous one,
Yeah,
who's there, and
yeah.
go and check it out. And Chicago has some really amazing ones. Graceland is my favorite,
Mhm,
if you can have a favorite, and I do. Because there's some really just like not just builders of Chicago, but builders of like the country
right,
buried
right,
there.
right.
But even in the expanded area, like I covered Jerry Springer, who's buried in the suburbs,
Yep.
So it's this, unassuming cemetery, but there's somebody who absolutely completely redid daytime TV, just hanging out,
Yeah.
unsuspecting.
Just tucked in with the rest of the people.
Exactly. You wouldn't know unless you were looking.
Right, right, right. Now, let's see. I'm trying to think how to word this. When you go, let's say you're going to a new place, you're going to check out. Do you kind of avoid the touristy stuff? Like a lot of times in the cities, you go to a cemetery, they'll have like, oh, here's a tour of the
Right.
cemetery, and like that kind of takes you to the hot spots, but maybe not necessarily what you're looking for because you don't want to hang out with 10 other people.
Yeah, I generally don't. I think the only time I've like will do a tour is co-host and best friend Sheena does tours
Mhm.
at Elmwood. And so if you're
Okay.
in Memphis, you should absolutely do that. And tip her well, because people have not been tipping her, and I'm gonna have to track them down one by one and beat them.
Seriously.
Like, come on now, tip your tour guide.
Tips are important.
What are we doing? She's walking in Memphis heat. What are you guys doing? So like with her, like I tagged along with a ghost tour that she did recently when I was driving through during the holidays. But usually I'll kind of go to the wiki page for that cemetery and be like, okay, who's there? Who's kind of hanging out there. And then I'll kind of go and see. And then I like to kind of so Find a Grave has a feature where people whose family members are buried at that, they'll ask, hey, will you go take a picture of it?
Yeah.
So you can go, and I've done that in Virginia Beach when I was visiting my parents, is, you find the grave that they're asking for, you take a picture and attach it to that grave. So the family has a picture of their loved ones,
right.
Could be their ancestor, it could be, whoever, their final resting place. So I'll kind of go through Find a Grave and see, okay, well, who's there that's of note, that maybe Wikipedia wouldn't have flagged. And then what requests do they have for that cemetery of wanting pictures and things like that.
Have you had people come to you as far as like people that listen to the show? Have you had people come to you and say, hey, can you cover this? Like, have people that come and give you suggestions?
Oh, yes.
For things?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you used any of them?
Yeah. So, a fellow friend from last pod, Vesper, she gave me a really cool idea about this grave site. It's actually like a whole monument in Kansas. And I went to looking into it. I'm like, okay, this is amazing and cool. We're covering this. So we had covered, I can't remember what episode it was. I think it was like monumental monuments. So it was like huge, very ornate, either whole monuments, statues, whole, tombstones or whatever. And so I covered that story. It was his wife had died, and so he did a very elaborate, setup, and then he passed. And then the heads of one of the statues went missing, and it was a whole thing. It was small town intrigue. It was a very cool story. And so a lot of people will, or, friends of ours will be like, hey, I was in this town and saw this, or, hey, this is like local lore for us. And so it's always really fun to be able to kind of like dive deep into those.
Yeah. So do you have, it feels kind of funny to say it this way, do you have a bucket list of cemeteries that you would like to go to?
I do actually. So when we covered the Vermont, the state of Vermont, there was and it's escaping me right off the top of my head, but it was like where all these granite workers are buried. So of course their tombstones are elaborate and amazing because this is their medium. This is what they worked in. So we definitely me and Sheena and Lori are plotting like a New England, like, tour, not tour.
Yeah.
It'll just be the three of us on vacation. But we're like, we want to go to Vermont. If you
call it a tour, you can write it off on your taxes.
There we go. That's what we're going to try to do. So maybe we'll get money instead of it costing us money. Yeah. But so we want to see that because there was like some really great ones that I'm like, this is kind of cool. And then obviously some of the monument to the victims of the Salem witch trials we're wanting to see. My parents have been to Arlington. I have not, but Arlington is on my list. I just think it's such a cool. And then I actually covered Colonel Meigs, who was the person who designed, created, did all of that for Arlington. And he was a petty bitch, which made it even better. He took the Robert E. Lee estate and started burying people on it so that they couldn't take it back. And I was like, I love that.
Damn.
Did the rose bushes and everything. And it was like, nope, we're burying people here. Bye.
Yeah. Have you ever had one that you went to say that you were really excited about going to and you got there and it was just kind of meh? Like, have you ever been to one that was just kind of eh?
There was, like, especially in Virginia Beach, there were some that are just, they're so old and they just weren't taken care of.
Yeah.
So you can't really read any of the stones, and it happens, it's one of those things where it's just, as generations die out, people stop, kind of coming to them. And stones get hidden or,
Mhm.
moved and so on and so forth. So, and especially in an area like Virginia where they're so old, it's easy for those kinds of things to just kind of
Yeah.
fall into disrepair. And so it's
Mhm.
always kind of sad to see, but at the same time, it's sort of like if there's nobody living attached
Yeah.
to this person
Yeah,
anymore,
exactly.
it's sort of like, okay, what can we expect at this point?
Like, I don't know how it is for you down where you are, but I know around here, you'll just be kinda if you're on a back road, let's say, and you're just driving around, like, you could probably just randomly glance to the left or the right, and you'll see spots with, like, 3 tombstones. Just
Arkansas
just
was
just sitting.
very much like that. Very when I lived so I grew up in Arkansas, um, and I grew up on the northeast part of Arkansas, so very rice, soybeans, cotton,
Yeah.
very a lot of farmland. And there was so my sister-in-law's younger sister passed away as an infant. They were very poor at the time, so they
Mhm.
buried her in very, kind of a pauper
Yeah, like
cemetery.
a modest, yeah.
Yeah, and so we went out there and, it just brambles had kinda taken over, and
Yeah.
so there was one tombstone that was, like, "Unknown black man."
Wow.
It was yeah, and so, some of the tombstones were coming up, some of the coffins were kinda coming up, and I'm just
No
like, "Somebody
shit.
needs to come out here and fix this
Wow.
because this is not good. This
No,
is
not at all.
bad." So, and it's really common, I would say, kind of especially the rural area where, like,
Yeah.
I grew up, where there's less you do have these churches kinda tucked into the hollers, and so they
Mhm.
have their graveyards next to them, and so those people could have been there since the 1800s.
Right.
Don't nobody know, you know?
Yeah, it always kinda feels like they just buried him wherever they dropped. Like
Exactly,
like,
yeah, and,
just
like
put a stone, I don't wanna move him." Like,
exactly. Well, and especially with as rural as a lot of these places were, you were buried on your own property. So,
right.
and that's kind of what you did. And, 100 years later, somebody's trying to build a house, and they're like, "Oh, no, that's a body." You know? That's not supposed to be there.
When, when Jen and I were first together, so we're, like, looking around for houses and things
Yeah.
like that, like, we wanna buy a house. We found this really old A-frame house down in, like, the oldest section of town. I guess it's
Mhm.
one of the oldest A-frames in the county or in the state or
Okay.
something like that, right? So the guy owned a brickyard, I believe it was.
Okay.
So it's right so you've got the house, and then it's within walking distance is the river, the Hudson River.
Yeah.
So he obviously, like, because of the time frame, he had slaves. It was just,
Yeah.
that's what
Part
they
of it.
did,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So we're looking around through this house, and we go into the back. The house is scary as shit. Let me just tell you, like, it's just old,
I can
and
imagine.
obviously, like, nobody had upkept it in a while, so it had, like, some things that they had kind of updated, but not really finished. So you've got this mixture of, like, shit that's
Right.
been there from the beginning with stuff that's a little more modern, very weird kind of vibe
Yeah.
from the house, right? So you would walk all the way to the back of the house into the kitchen. There was this big window, and you look out the window, and it was literally just like a hill, like almost like
Mhm.
they just cut the hill out and put the house there. Like having a window was a complete waste of time because you couldn't see anything.
Right.
So we're looking, we're kind of looking around, and then the realtor says, the rumor is that there's a bunch of bodies buried up on that hill. And I was like,
This is the
what are you talking
creepiest
what yeah,
realtor
like,
known to
what are you
man.
talking about?" And, she said, "Yeah, there was apparently some kind of an accident with the brickyard, something happened,
Okay.
and, they buried some of the workers up on the hill." And I was
Oh
like,
my god.
"Yeah, I don't think I want
No.
this house anymore, if I'm being
No.
honest with you." Like, it had haunted vibes anyway. Like, you ever walk into a place and you're
Right.
just like, "Boy, I sure feel cold."
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Like,
this was
"Oh,
that kind of
somebody does
thing.
not want me here."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It had a lot of little doors in the walls, and
Oh.
I am terrified of little doors. Like, if I walk into a room and there's, like, a little closet door, like, "Oh, look, a little
Yeah.
half door." Like, "No, I don't want anything to do with that room." And I always say it's because, do you know what comes out of little doors? Little things. And
Yes.
I'm not interested. No.
Yeah,
So
and as a
we
5 foot
passed on that one.
tall, I'm like, that's and I joke because I am the white woman in a horror movie. I'm opening the creepy door,
Mhm.
I'm reading from the book,
Yeah.
Bound in Human Skin,
Out loud, even though you don't need to.
yeah, exactly. I'm reading the Latin phrase that's
Right.
I am the white woman in a horror
Yeah.
movie. I own that. Everybody knows that. So I'm going to open the weird door, and everything that happens after that is going to be 100%
Right.
my fault.
It is
But I'm a
100% your fault
Pisces,
that the
so
Deadites are
I'm
showing up.
right. I'm a Pisces, so I'm not going to take any accountability for it. I'm just going to be like, well, y'all were with me, so I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, you knew what I was going to do.
Y'all know exactly. Well, it's so funny because the house I grew up in Arkansas, which burned down like right after I graduated college, I was like, oh, thanks, trauma. They're like,
Yeah,
yeah, your childhood
just what
home
I
is
needed.
gone. Bye. Hope you enjoy being an adult now.
Right.
It was well over 100 years old when we bought it. It was teeny
Yep.
tiny. And there was a hump kind of, at one point of the hallway. And I was like, Mom, what is the deal with this? She's like, well, that was when they added on the bathroom because it did not originally have a bathroom when it was
Okay.
built. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm glad they did that. So I will shut up about this hump in the floor. We're fine with that. And then one of the out sheds we were cleaning out one day, and the people whose family owned the house, one of the relatives lived just down the road a little bit from us. It's very rural. And so we got to looking around, and I was like, why is there a German World War II helmet up here? What is this? What is happening? Why? So we went to the next door neighbor, and it's like, do you know what's going on with this? He's like, oh yeah, no, my brother brought that back from the war. That was such a trophy of his. I was like, do you want it? Because we don't.
Right.
So he took it. We're like, please, thank you. I don't need that juju in the house.
Yeah. At least he wasn't just like, nope, your problem now.
Exactly. He's like, no, that was my brother's. We're like, let him know we have it. It's all his. We don't want it. But we found like a feather bed, an old hand carved checkerboard with checkers. A telephone book back when you just dialed the last 4 of the telephone number.
Oh,
yeah. And so when we moved to that place in Arkansas, that was still how our phones worked, was you dialed the last 4.
no shit.
Yeah, so I always joke because I'll talk about stuff and they're just like, are you from the 50s? I was like, I may as well.
Sorta.
I was like, because I was talking to them about my high school, and I was like, oh yeah, no, until my senior year, boys couldn't wear beards. And they're like, did you go to a Catholic school? I was like, no, I went to a public school. And they're like, in the 50s? I was like, no, it was rural Arkansas.
Yeah, first of all, fuck you for thinking I'm that old,
Exactly. Like, what do you think I do? Bathe in formaldehyde? Give me a break.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I grew up rural. Like, I definitely grew up in the sticks, but wow, you made me feel like I grew up in like some really advanced area there. Like, we didn't get we didn't get cable for like ever. Like, I was like the last person in New York, I think, for whose house got cable. It was the most
we got our
ridiculous
first stoplight in town my senior year of high school.
No shit. Did the town treat it like it was the biggest thing ever?
Yes, that was a monument because it was just a 4-way stop for the longest time. And it was the only traffic light in town for the longest time.
4-way stops should be outlawed. They're the most obnoxious thing in the world. Like, no, everybody knows that there's a rule for who wants to go, but nobody wants to be the one to do it. You're always just like, you, no, you.
Right. No, and even when is a like stated rule, like nobody follows it. It's just it's the wild west. So, but yeah, no, tiny little town.
Yep. That's awesome. So I grew up in the northern version of that.
Yes. So, I joke because it was the population at the time was 3,000, and I joke I now live in Chicago where there's that many people on my block. So
was it like culture shock when you moved from a small area to a much more congested one? So
terribly. I went from Arkansas, and then I moved, went to college, and then I moved to Biloxi Gulfport area, which is a little bit bigger. It's about 100,000 people, so still big. And then moved up here to Chicago, and it was definitely a fit. It was like you could get lost in I don't see the same people over and over again.
Right.
Because even though Biloxi Gulfport area is slightly bigger, than the town I grew up in, obviously, but you would still see the same people. You would see the guy that works at the Target in the
Yeah.
Mexican restaurant. And like,
Yeah.
I need to stop seeing the same 5 people. I'm done. I'm
Sometimes it's
tired.
nice not to know everybody's life.
Exactly. They don't, this is too much. This is too much people I don't know knowing me, and I don't like it.
Yeah. What is the coolest grave site you've ever visited?
Oh, I will have to say, at Graceland Cemetery up here in Chicago, the architect Burnham, I believe his first name is Carl Burnham.
Mhm.
Him and his family have an island in the middle of this pond. And you cross this really pretty wooden bridge, and it's just him and his family. Because the Graceland Cemetery is very woodsy. There's a lot of botanical life there, and
Mhm.
so it's very much part of that period of, having it kind of integrated with the landscape rather than just rows and rows and rows of manicured lawns and
Yeah. Yeah.
tombstones. So it's very, lots of trees, lots of grass, very well landscaped and manicured. But yeah, you just cross over this bridge, and it's this beautiful island in the middle of this pond with all of these trees. And I'm like, what a place to spend eternity. you
Right.
know? I mean, and the stones themselves aren't flashy, but
Mhm.
the whole thing just kind of together gives it a really great. I'm like, this is nice. And then there's also a giant statue at Graceland. It's called the Silence, which is like a hooded kind of caped figure.
Mhm.
It's patinaed to be kind of this kind of rusty green color.
Yeah. Yeah. The weather
Absolutely
topper kind of
beautiful.
look.
Yeah, and it's very imposing, but also like very peaceful feeling at the same
Mhm.
time. So it's really beautiful, and it was the inspiration for some of the earliest Ouija boards that were produced.
No shit.
Yeah, they
That's
used to
cool.
have what was called the Blue Ghost on them, and that was based off of
Huh.
that statue.
You're giving me all kinds of graveyard info that I didn't know about today.
Hey, uh, we actually did one of our episodes had the guy who invented Ouija boards, or at least patented the Ouija board. He kind of sucked, so
Right.
and that's one of our favorite things is we'll be talking about somebody. We're like, look, this person blew, but their
Right.
story was interesting.
They did something cool, but that doesn't make them cool.
Yes, especially like with poor Sheena, a lot of the time she's like, listen, this person was a slave owner and we hate that, but here's
Right.
their story,
But you're gonna want to hear this,
Exactly. Like everything else about it was interesting. They just happened to be a bastard.
Right. Have you ever done any celebrity graves?
We have. So I've done Jerry Springer,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
very interesting. I did Rodney Dangerfield.
I do remember that one.
Yes, which his story was so fun. His story was an absolute blast. And so we've gotten to do like I did Dick Butkus, which was
Mhm.
a blast as well. And we've done so we tried to kind of pick like the off the beaten path.
Yeah.
But when we do celebrities, it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah. Every now and then you got to give the people what they want.
Exactly. And especially when it's somebody who's like part of our lives, part of our kind of childhoods and stuff. Like
Yeah.
Rodney Dangerfield is part of everybody's childhood. He was amazing. But so those are always kind of fun, and it's always interesting to see somebody who is like this larger than life persona have just this very simple,
like a modest grave. Yeah.
and you're like, wow, because if you didn't know that person's name or you weren't sure who that person was,
Yeah.
you would
just
think,
walk right
oh,
by.
Mae West, who could that be? And I'm like,
Right.
co
Yeah.
icon Mae West. What are you talking about?
Exactly. So I don't know if it is something that they do on other platforms, but on TikTok, a lot of people do the grave restorations. They're not restorations, but where they
Yes.
like go and they clean the stones and they kind of give you a little bit of a history of the person
That's what
on
Sheena
there.
does. Yeah.
Okay.
Sheena will sometimes she'll just kind of randomly pick one that looks like it needs some love.
Mhm.
And then other times if they make a donation to Elmwood because it is a nonprofit
Yeah.
cemetery, when they make the donation, they can say, hey, we would like, our family members' gravestone cleaned. And so she'll do that as well. So that's how she, got to really get some of her most interesting stories. One of hers, and you and your audience could go check it out. Alma Feed
Okay.
in Memphis. She's amazing. We love her. She's an icon. And
Because I
she learned her story by cleaning her gravestone. And because Sheena's also, she kind of got a vibe, every time she would clean the gravestone where it was kind of almost Alma saying, leave me alone.
right.
But she cleans it enough that she feels like there's an agreement now. She's
Now
like,
they're
I'm
kind of
trying to
pals.
take
Yeah.
care. Right. She's like, I'm trying to take care of you. Like,
Yeah.
chill.
Like I noticed it, like, so when I first started watching those, the comment sections, like, like I should have known
Yeah.
better, but like, they're very split. Like there's a lot of people that love it. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people that absolutely love it. And then there is this whole group of people that are so vehemently opposed to it. That
Right.
like you're ruining the stone. It's supposed to have all of this build up on it. And I'm thinking to
Right.
myself,
And
like,
it's like, no.
that is 100% not the point of what any
Right.
of that was. Like you don't put
And
the
there's a
stone there
way
with
to
all of
do
that
it.
info. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's a way to do it without being destructive,
Yeah.
and Sheena's very, very good with that. She uses the right cleaners, the right methods, the right, everything to do that. It's a very non-destructive process for the
Yeah.
most part. But yeah, I mean, it's somebody's, the marker that they were here, they existed. And I
Right.
think to give them a little bit of their recognition back of saying I'm still here, I think it's an important thing to do.
Yeah. I mattered. It's kind of a nice way to
Exactly.
say, like,
People
you did.
loved me enough to make a record that I was here.
Yeah. Yeah. To give them a place
Yeah.
to come back to say hi to me if they're in the area or whatever.
Exactly. And what's interesting too, and I will see them from time to time. So the word for it is a cenotaph. So it's where you
Okay.
have a tombstone, but there's not the body. The body's not there.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is because I'm going to be cremated, but my parents are very insistent that there's space for me on their stone so that I'm listed, so that I'll be a cenotaph basically. But there are a lot of them for people who died World War I and World War II where their bodies weren't sent back.
Right.
So they put a cenotaph with the family plot so that there's this acknowledgement. This is our loved one.
Yeah.
He's with us, but his body's not with us. And so, it's very sweet. It's really nice to kind of see stuff like that because it's still very much the family saying, we didn't forget this person. This person is still a member of our family. They're still with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think as time goes on, obviously like populations get bigger and we need more room for people to have places to live and all of that other stuff. Do you see a point in time within our lifetime where graveyards kind of become passe, or not necessarily passe, but where maybe they transition them over into something a little more space conscious, so where it's not taking up these giant.
Yeah. And what's interesting is so much of our current infrastructure is built on the cemeteries of the past, right? So Lincoln Park here in Chicago was a cemetery. Parts of Memphis were cemeteries. With every major city, I would guarantee that there are parts of it that were built on top of, cemeteries in one form or another. I personally want to be something called aqua cremation, where you're kind of alkalized. And it's less energy intensive than a traditional cremation. Actually a little bit cheaper. So I'm gonna go that route. And I'm seeing a lot more eco-conscious because the things that we use in the preparation of the body, and then in the, we put them in a vault and then put them in this sealed casket. I'm like, what are you hoping to do with this?
They're not coming back,
Right. I'm like, even if you do believe in rapture or whatever, you're not going to be in great shape. So what
I
are we
don't want that
here?
one. Like, give me something new.
Right. That's not going to look great, friend. But I do see a world in where, I'm seeing more and more people want to do kind of the eco-friendly burials. More and more people wanting, I've seen people who just do a wicker basket that just gets buried and, you go back to the earth. A lot of that is just because people are so weird about dead bodies.
They are.
And so weird about the death process. And I think it's because we're so far removed from it than we used to be in generations past, where you used to just have your funeral in your house. Yeah, it is. We're very much like, the same way that we're weird about where our food comes from. And it's like, well,
Yes.
yeah, no, they killed a cow for that. Like, wait, like kids.
Yeah.
And so we're very far removed from the death process, and we very much want to like kind of shunt it away, especially when it comes to like decay and all of those things. And it's like it's so much better environmentally to just put somebody in the ground,
Right.
let nature do its thing like it's been doing
Yeah.
for millions of years. And you can have your stone. There's no reason why you
Yeah.
can't. But their body's their body. We're animals at the end of the day.
We are.
Let us go back to what we're doing. So I've actually told my nibblings they are to put at least some of my cremains into fireworks and just kind of blast me out over Lake Michigan. Like,
Yeah.
that's all
I
I
like that.
ask.
That works.
I'm made of star stuff. Send me back to that.
Back
So
to it. Yeah.
yeah. So I think I do see a lot more. And a lot of it is like the legal regulations in different places because,
Right.
again, lawmakers are equally skittish
Yeah.
about, death and, what you can do with a dead body and this, that, and the third. And it's, again, I think, letting somebody kind of be in the woods and, let the foxes and the coyotes take care of it
Yeah. Yeah.
is a far more sustainable, eco-friendly solution than
Yeah.
a giant concrete vault,
Right.
body full of toxins and chemicals inside of a sealed secondary and then on acres and acres of land that could be used for housing or
Right.
literally anything else but just gardens of dead folk.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. That's not I mean, if people, because it kind of always aggravates me when it's the ones where like you can only have the stones that are inset in the ground, and I'm just like, so it's just hills of grass and random
Yeah.
patches of
Just
stone. I'm
doesn't
like,
look like anything.
what is the purpose of this? Like, why are we doing this?
I always wonder, like, where the kind of divide was, like, where did we get so uncomfortable with the concept of dying? Like, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong, like, I sit, like, every day at some point, like, you will find me, like, biting my nail, and the thought that's going on my head is like, man, you're gonna die one day. One day you're
right.
not gonna be here. There's gonna be all this stuff going on, but you're not gonna be a part of it. And, like, it's a terrible thing to think of, but
Yeah,
it's also inevitable. Like,
yeah,
at this point, there is no way to get around that. Where
right.
do you think where did the kind of separation line come from where we all of a sudden had, like, such a problem with that?
I see it kind of as World War II, post World War II. So
Okay.
World War One happens. It's death and bloodshed and horrors unimaginable, which led to like the spiritualist movement, which led to a
Yeah.
lot of like of the gothier parts of American culture,
Mhm.
right? Because we had so much death, because you had so many young widows, you had so many people who lost children, and not to mention that babies were dying by the dozens back then.
Right.
You get out of World War II where you have this kind of you know the horrors.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you
yeah.
have these men
Whole lot
come
of death.
back, a whole lot of death, whole lot of human suffering caused
Yeah.
by other humans, just shenanigans and horrifying crap. So they get back to the States. They've got PTSD, but nobody's calling it that. And
Mhm.
so they're wanting as vanilla and as normal as
Yes.
humanly possible. So you have that. They've got this, the greatest generation kind of thing coming in. And also you've got capitalism kicking in. So these are people that survived the horrors of the Great Depression. So there's that PTSD.
Mhm.
They go overseas, they either survive Germany or they survive Japan,
Yeah.
and equally horrifying.
Yep.
There's the
Absolutely.
atom bomb, which gives everybody that anxiety,
Mhm.
but also there's so much technology and future, and we're about to go to the moon. And
Right.
so it's really trying to disengage from what our primitive kind of life was. And so our kind of Middle Ages, people in the Middle Ages were obsessed with death. We're modern. Everything is clean and sterile
Right.
and uniform and perfect. And so I see a lot of that, of like that trying to like disengage from the horrors of it, because they
Yeah.
did see more death in those periods than most times in human history, and
Yeah.
certainly in modern history. And so, there was that kind of urge to like, let's do something clean and shiny and happy and
Like the head in the sand kind of thinking.
exactly of
Yeah.
like everything is fine. We're wearing pastels. Move
Yeah, yeah.
it. Yes, dad's drinking 5 old fashions before bed, but it's fine. Everything is
Everything's fine.
fine.
No, we don't
And
need to
then
talk about anything that's going on in our head. What do you
exactly.
If you
Exactly.
ignore it, everything goes away.
Exactly. And I think it comes to that with death too, of like, if we don't look at the ugly parts aren't there.
Right.
So we shunt them away. Those are a special group of people that deal with that. That's done in a hospital under sterile, clean conditions. It doesn't come into the home. So, and that the home is also codified as this kind of like sanctified, sanitized place
Mhm.
where in previous generations, you had multi-generational homes, you had community homes where people did church meetings in the living rooms, or people ran businesses out of their houses and things
Mhm.
like that, where post World War II, it became very, the nuclear family starts. And so it's
Yeah.
very insular. And so as Americans, we kind of, we closed down and clammed up. And
Yeah.
so, and that included death. That included, the other kind of icky parts of life
Mhm.
that we were in that period of like, if we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. So, and I think it really was a trauma response
Yeah,
to,
that makes sense. That makes a
2
lot of
world
sense.
wars, the Great Depression, and all of
Yeah,
the horrible things that happened.
a whole lot of death all at once.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense, actually.
And that is my
For good or
non-academic.
for
So
bad.
yeah, if there's an academic out there that has a better answer than that, I'd love to hear it. But that's kind of my personal
Yeah.
theory.
No, I'd buy that totally.
Yeah.
Do you think the concept of the wake is outdated at this point? Like, is it really necessary?
I'm of two minds about it. So, on the one hand, so when my grandmother passed away, in 2011. It was very
Mhm.
sudden. We were in a car accident. It was a whole thing. We didn't get to have a formal wake
Right.
because my mother was in the ICU. I was in the accident as well. My dad was stationed in Japan, so he
Mm.
had to be flown out. It was a whole thing.
Wow.
It was a mess. So we didn't get to have like a formal, and she did not want to be embalmed, and she wanted to be cremated. So if
Okay.
you're not going to be embalmed, you either interred or cremated within, it's like 72 hours to
Yeah.
96
Yeah.
hours. It has to be a very fast turnaround. So we had to be very quick. And we were going to be having her funeral where she lived in Kansas City, which is where the vast majority of the extended family lived and all of
Mhm.
that. So there was no way we were transporting. So had to be very quick. So we didn't get to have a formal wake, but I did get to see her. They did kind of, clean her up and have her set out for us to
Mhm.
kind of be able to see. Um, and that I for closure purposes, this be my grandmother, and we had a
Yeah.
similar situation when my brother passed away, where again, he did not ever want to be embalmed and stuff like that. He wanted to be cremated.
Mhm.
And so again, they cleaned him up. They kind of set him, we didn't have a formal wake or anything like that. And so we were able to really kind of see him, touch them,
Yeah.
say goodbye, cry on them. I have a lock of his hair. So, I could see for me, I think for the immediate family, that's very valuable.
Mhm.
Now, I've been to wakes of extended family where I'm like, why am I looking at this dead man? This
Right.
is horrifying. Like, why am I doing this? I did not know this person well enough to be here right now. This feels
Yeah.
very intimate and very
Right.
weird to
Right.
me.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, I'm not supposed to
So,
be here.
right. And I think it's interesting to me where, sometimes I think lying in state is horribly creepy. I'm like, what?
That will
Why
never
is
not be creepy to me.
why is this body just
Yeah.
hanging out?
Like
Like,
hey,
what are we
the
doing?
Pope died. We're gonna leave him in the middle of this room in a glass coffin
Right.
for like a week and a half. Like people can just come in and check him out. Like
Yeah, like,
I don't think he would
no.
have wanted that, if I'm being honest. Like, did you
Right.
ask
And I'm
him?
like,
'Cause nobody would agree to
that's
that.
I feel like his dead body, and and that's kind of my own skittishness around a corpse. And it's not so much I'm skittish around a corpse, it's this is a very intimate thing that
Yeah.
I feel like I should not be involved in right
Yeah.
now.
Like, I
you
guess
know
back in, like, history, like, if you told me that that was the thing, like, "Oh, they're gonna leave him in state for, like, 10
right.
days," or something like that, I would almost understand it because people had to travel. If you wanted to
Right.
come see that person, it might take you a couple days to even get
Right.
there.
And it's not
The
likely that you had a picture of them. It's not
Right,
likely that you had video
right.
or something like that of them.
Yeah,
So if
so
you wanted to
this
see
is what
them,
you
that
were
was
getting.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now
Right.
the fucking internet exists. Like, like
Exactly.
we have camera phones and there is all kinds of stuff. Like you can find a picture. Like
Oh
we don't
yeah,
need to we don't
no.
need to leave them out.
And I've told my nibblings, I was like, number one, don't be having my dead body out for people to see. I was like, if you
Right?
guys need to see me before, that's fine. Only you guys. That's all I really care about.
Yeah.
And their other rule is no religious service. I said, I will haunt you, so don't start.
Yeah.
I told them, I was like, play some music, go eat some food, go spend my life insurance.
Right.
Like we're good. We don't need all this. But yeah, there's been, honestly, I've been to a wake before where I'm like, they look better dead than they did alive. I'm like,
Oh,
this is kind
jeez.
of awful. I'm like, holy shit. Because they were, they were going through it in life, and then you see them all laid up, and you're like, oh, that's not okay. Like
Right.
that's not great.
I always hated it when people would say, like, well, they look so lifelike. They look like they're just sleeping. They do not. They do not
No,
look like
no, that
either
is a
one of
dead
those things.
body.
You know
That
what
is a
sleeping
hundred
people
percent
do?
a
They
dead body.
breathe. Yeah.
Yeah. No. That is, they look waxy.
Yeah.
That's
It's
not,
awful.
no.
Yeah, I am firmly against being laid out for people
Yeah.
to come look at me. Like, I don't want to trust what I wear. Like, if you're coming to see me, like, what if you
Right.
pick something stupid? What if I'm like, I would never wear that fucking shirt
Exactly.
with those pants? Like, I would no. What are you doing? And this is what
Well,
everybody's last memory is going to be. I look like an idiot.
exactly. And my neighbor who we lived down the street from in Arkansas, he had passed away when I was in college. Every time I had seen him, he was wearing bib over, because he's a farmer. He was
Mhm,
wearing bib overalls, a blue Oxford shirt. That was his uniform.
mhm.
That was, so when we went to his viewing, and then, I was moving into college the next day, so I wasn't gonna be able to go to the gravesite, but we went to his viewing, and I'm like, he's wearing a suit. I've never seen him in a suit,
Yeah.
and I've known him for 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
what is
Where'd you get that
this?
thing? Yeah.
Right. Like, did y'all just keep that in the back? Like,
Right.
what is happening?
All right. So let's slide into our last section here.
Yes.
All right. So have you, and I guess if you've gone to cemeteries, you
Yeah.
like to spend some time in cemeteries. This is could be a little bit more possible than for
Right.
other people. Have you ever seen a ghost or had a paranormal experience that you couldn't necessarily explain?
I've never seen a ghost. I desperately want to. Desperately, desperately want to. Um, as far as paranormal, so with my family's kind of thing of like, we don't really separate from our dead, right?
Mhm.
When they pass over, they're still very much a part of our lives. So our big thing is, if you dream about a deceased relative, that's them coming to visit you.
Okay.
So a few days after my grandmother passed, I was asleep having a dream, and it was one of my weirdo, I think it was like a beagle circus. Honestly, it was a circus full of beagles. And it was just bizarre. And in the dream, my grandmother was sitting there kind of like, oh, this is what you do. This is what you're up to. Like, I think she was thinking it was going to be something interesting. I'm like, no,
Mhm.
no, it's a beagle circus.
Yeah.
And so I will occasionally still see her. I'll see my brother from time to time. He'll come in. And so my biological father, who's not my dad, but he's my biological dad, he passed away when I was in my 20s, but we weren't really close,
Mm.
throughout life. But I know when he's around because I smell coffee, cigarettes, and gasoline. That
Okay.
was his like scent. And I hear Dreams by Fleetwood Mac,
Okay.
because that was Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, or Heard It in a Love Song by the Marshall Tucker Band, or kind of his signal that I'm like, okay, hi, I see you. Yes.
Right.
So I've always kind of like had that, mostly like family members,
Mhm.
and I've been places where I've just kind of felt like
Yeah.
something is not keen on me being here.
Right.
And like something, like the energy feels off. Being in the South, I've gone to plantation houses, and have just kind of felt like the energy here is not great.
Right. Somebody doesn't
Nobody
want me
here,
here, you know?
no, like nobody here was a decent person. So
Right.
I'm like, the vibe is not vibing. I need to go. you know. I very much would love to see a ghost, but I think it's one of those things I want it too much, and they're just like, no, no, she's too desperate, so we can't do it.
See,
But I hold
I've
out
always kind
hope.
of, oh yeah, it'll, just, I feel like it's one of those things that if you are actively seeking it, you are less
Yeah,
likely to have it occur. Like you
exactly.
said, like
So
they kind of
yeah,
think maybe you're a little too desperate for it, so
they're
they don't
like,
give it to you.
yeah. They're like, "No, girl, calm down." So,
Not yet. Yeah.
I do kind of like I said, I'll kind of sense my family around,
Hmm.
which is, to me, it's very comforting.
Yeah.
I actually joked that I have picked the song that I'm gonna haunt to,
Ah,
because I'm tired of, like, slowed down pop songs or
yeah.
Tiny Tim doing lullabies. I'm over it.
There
So, I'm gonna haunt to "Gasolina," by Daddy Yankee.
you go.
So that's gonna be. I've let the nibblings know. I was like, you hear that? That's Aunt Hannah. I am around. I'm probably gonna leave the refrigerator door open or do something slightly annoying. Maybe take the batteries out of the remote. We'll see.
Right. Hide your car keys, something like that.
Right. Take the
Yeah.
plate out of the microwave. Something small and subtle,
Yeah.
but horribly annoying.
I've always been kind of the mindset that like you said, like you have like a smell that you associate with somebody
Yeah.
or a song that you associate with somebody. If you whether you believe in a ghost or any kind of life after death or whatever it
Yeah.
is, if that smell or that song brings that person to your
Absolutely.
forefront of your mind, that is what it is.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
them. Like in that
Yeah.
moment, you are kind of manifesting them, so to speak. Like if it makes you
Exactly.
think like they're here and they're saying hi to me or they're letting me know they're okay and it gives you some comfort, that's the
Absolutely.
whole point. Like,
Yeah.
that's the whole point, and you can claim whatever it is, you can claim that it's just your brain processing the loss of
Right.
a person, or you can claim that it is, complete proof of life after death. Like,
Absolutely.
it doesn't really matter past that point. Like, it only
Right.
really matters to the person that's experiencing it,
Exactly.
and if that smell makes you think that that person is right there with you, then they are. Who's to say they're not?
Exactly. Exactly. And I actually have like a theory about like hauntings in general.
Okay.
Um I think humans are we do have that collective unconscious. I think our frontal lobes do kind of connect us
Mhm.
in some way that there is kind of a web, an
Yeah.
energy web between all of us, both on a micro scale and on a macro
Yeah.
scale. One of the things that we note about hauntings is that they're, tragedies for the most part.
Mhm.
You've got your personal hauntings, like I said, for me, where it's hearing something associated with my dad or hearing
Yeah.
something associated with my brother or my grandmother,
Mhm.
stuff like that. But then you have like the society level hauntings, right? That are like Indian burial grounds,
Right.
child murder,
Right.
horrible disasters.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like it's that kind of tear in
Yeah.
that collective unconscious to where, it's us as a very social, very connected species
Mhm.
acknowledging this was an aberration.
Yeah.
And if it's actually some form of energy expressing itself, or if it's
Mhm.
just our brains filling space because
Mhm.
we as a social animal know something wrong happened here.
Right.
Either way, I think it's sort of, to me, I think that they're, because everyone's like, well, why aren't there dinosaur ghosts? I'm like, because dinosaurs weren't socially connected animals
Right.
like we are.
And how would
I
you know
mean,
you're not a dinosaur? Like,
exactly. Maybe
maybe
only
dinosaurs did see
dinosaurs.
dinosaur ghosts, you know?
I mean, I've had chickens. I believe that they see the ghosts of dinosaurs and they're telling them to commit crimes.
Yeah, there you go.
Um, so which is, if you've had chickens, or I believe I've talked with your wife about guinea fowl before. They are
Probably.
horrible creatures.
They
They are
are. They
awful,
loud.
awful. And I am convinced that they are, in fact, they remember being dinosaurs. And if they were bigger, they would fuck us up.
Oh, totally. They would just eat your eyes right
Right?
out of your
Like,
head.
honestly, if my cats were bigger, they would have ended me years ago. So,
Oh yeah, they just do it because they can't. Like if they could reach
exactly.
the food, we'd be done.
Oh yeah, no, they're totally like, if I could murder you, I straight up would. I allow them in my house and I clean up their
Yeah.
poop. It's amazing.
There's all I did hear a theory one time where somebody said that like, all right, so houses are generally made of wood. And
Right.
there is theory that it absorbs,
Yeah.
like think they absorb the energy, and people are,
Yeah.
like you said, energy. Like if you've
Yeah.
ever been to a wake and you looked at the person that you once knew, you understand that there's something missing there, and
Right. It's gone. Whatever
it's
it
not just
is
breath.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever made them is gone. They don't look the same. There's
Right.
just something off. And I've kind of been fascinated about the theory that, like, say you live in a house for 30 or 40 years, right? You
Yeah.
got a family that grew up there,
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's all of these moments that, happiness and sadness and all of these
Right.
things. And when all of those things happen, the house kind of
Absorbs
absorbs
it.
those feelings. Like
Yep.
you've been into houses, I'm sure, where the house just feels off, like it just doesn't
Yeah.
feel happy. You can almost feel it kind of like
Yeah.
on your skin. But then you probably also been to places that are, you walk in and it's like very
Oh, yeah.
relaxing and you're just very,
Exactly.
very
The
chilled with it.
vibe is
Yeah.
exactly.
And I think a
No.
lot of it has to do with that. Like I think if you buy into that kind of a theory, I think that what you do in an area kind of works like a recording almost, like, which is
Absolutely.
why people see, like, oh well,
Absolutely.
I see this woman just going up and down the stairs, like, yeah, because she
Right.
did it, a
Every
hundred
day of her
times a
life for
day.
50
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
Yeah.
for 50 years she went up and down those stairs. So why wouldn't you see the energy
Right.
that she left behind going up and down those stairs, or in the
Absolutely.
kitchen, or coming in through the door, from work, like all of these things that people kind of take for granted that they do on a
Oh,
daily
yeah.
basis. Like I've always kind of wondered if that works like Memorex. Like, is it just
Right.
like, are you kind of essentially recording part of
Right.
yourself
Because,
into the place that you
yeah.
occupy?
And as as people who grew up analog, when you record over and over, those bits and pieces that you're recording over start coming
Yeah,
through.
they like, yeah,
Eventually, it starts coming through because you've redone it a bunch
mhm.
of different times. And I really do think that, places do absorb our energy. I'm a big woo woo person in energy. And I've met even living people where you can tell like something is missing in this person and
Yeah,
I need to get far, far away from them
yep,
because something is
absolutely.
not they look
Yeah,
perfectly normal, but I'm like, whatever is supposed to connect us is not connecting. And I'm like,
right.
nope, 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 nope. I'm noping
Yeah.
out.
Like if you can walk into a group of people and you can get a vibe from somebody that they are not someone that you want to be around. No words spoken between you
Right.
and the person, you just know that this
Yeah.
is not somebody that I want to be around.
Yeah.
If you can believe that's possible, that people have this kind of innate ability
Right.
to pick up on when someone is not who they want to associate with,
Right.
it's kind of silly to think that it doesn't work after
Past
that.
when we're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, 100%. Because, like I said, I'm very big on, you know, being attentive to the energy that I'm bringing to something,
Mhm.
right? Like I try not to go into work in a bad mood. Like the days I have to go into the office, I'm like, let me make sure that I'm not in a shit mood when I get in
Yeah.
there because I don't want to bring that energy in with
Right.
me. I'm very big on like my last interactions with people, whether on the phone or in
Yeah.
person, not ending angry. I'm very
Yeah, me
much
too.
like,
Me too.
we're gonna what even if we were arguing, we're gonna end this with good
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
This isn't
I'm
gonna be
still
our
gonna let you know
last.
I love you. I'm still gonna let you
Exactly.
know that, like, I care about you and all that. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm very big on like being very mindful of the energy that you're bringing out
Mhm.
into, even if you're just going into the grocery store, if you come into into a public place with stank ass energy, it's
Yeah.
like coming in smelling bad. I mean, it really
Right.
is. It's like
Yeah. No,
walking
that
in
makes
with
sense. Yeah.
BO. It's like
Right.
you're just you're making everybody else miserable by just
Yeah.
wafting your bad juju
Like you
all
walk
over
in like
everybody.
Pigpen and it's just dirt flying
Right.
everywhere. Like,
And there
yeah.
are people who, I've just been in like I said, in the Marianos just trying to get cheese or whatever. And I'm like, oh God, like, what is your deal? Like,
Don't
Jesus.
brush up against me, for God's sake,
Like,
Yeah.
please, like, whatever bad you've got, please just keep that
Yeah.
over there. I've
Leave it
got
in the car.
enough. Right. Exactly. So, yeah, I'm very much, like I said, energy is a thing. There are people who are like, somebody I used to work with was like, astrology's made up. I'm like, everything's made up.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to tell you,
Yeah.
the words we are speaking to each other are made
All
up.
made up.
I'm picking the one that
Yeah.
makes the most sense to me.
Like the whole like time is a man-made construct. Like there is no such thing as
Exactly.
time. We just assign numbers to it, and now you have to adhere to a schedule.
Right.
So,
Exactly. I keep up. I do the whose line is it anyway guide to life. Everything's made up and the points don't matter.
yep,
So
that works for me. That totally works for me.
exactly.
All right, so you have been asked to pick one album, one book,
Yes.
and one movie to pass on to the world before you go, because that is kind of the whole overarching theme of the Shangri-La Lounge. When I say that we are the last
Yes.
dive bar at the end of the world, this is your last stop before you go off to whatever else is out there.
Right.
So, what do you pass on to the world before heading out?
So the album, and this will surprise no one who knows me, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness by the
Okay.
Smashing Pumpkins.
Okay.
Perfect from beginning to end. Not a skip amongst them.
Right.
Absolutely stunning. I got to see the opera version.
How was
This
that?
past it was amazing. It was absolutely, there were so many songs on that album that you could tell he wrote to be an opera.
Okay.
But with the limitations of a rock band,
Yeah.
you got to write it for a rock band.
Yeah.
But when you see it in the opera, you're like, yes,
It
this
makes
was what it
sense.
was always meant to be. And Billy Corgan, people have their feelings about him. I have been a fan since I was 12. I've bought my ticket on this ship. I'm going down with the Titanic. Listen, I have a Smashing Pumpkins tattoo. It is what it is. I've bought, I'm here. We're doing this. So yeah, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, stunning album, perfect album, means a lot to me personally. So, book, I will say, funnily enough, is called Salt.
Okay.
And it is about how salt basically changed the history of the world.
Okay.
We have, and let me look up real quick the author of it, because everyone should read it. Cue the Jeopardy music.
I would hum it, but I don't want to get like a copyright
right
strike.
Exactly. Mark Kurlansky.
Okay.
So he's done a really great ones. Salt is like my favorite because it's like it's an autistic person's dream come true.
Okay.
And I love theories of everything kind of things. And so, I mean, think about, is it worth their salt? Take it with a grain of salt. That's how integral it is to like our human
salt of the earth.
Yeah. Exactly. We were able to make all of these strides in human evolution basically because we could preserve food, we could preserve bodies, we could do all of these industrial applications. So that to me is like, it's one of those amazing kind of theory of everything kind of books. Non-fiction, I'm going to go with The Lovely Bones. That's one of my favorite novels. It's stunning and perfect and beautiful. Did not enjoy the movie version. The movie version upset me greatly, but the book is...
I don't remember if I've seen it. Maybe I saw part of it.
It's a Peter Jackson.
I saw it. It's got...
it's too much.
It's got Kate Winslet
Stanley,
in it.
Stanley Tucci, Mark Wahlberg. I can't remember. Kate Winslet might be in it. I don't remember. But Stanley Tucci is the murderer. He does creepy well. I will give him that, but it didn't stay true to the book, and the book was truly beautiful.
I may not have seen it because I tend to avoid things with Mark Wahlberg if I can.
Yeah, I tried. I saw it because I loved the book, and then I was like, okay, well, this was a disappointment. Peter Jackson, please stick to the Lord of the Rings because I did not enjoy this.
But not The Hobbit.
At all. Right. I'm like, what are we doing? And then movie, I would have to say Labyrinth.
Okay. No, that's a totally acceptable answer.
Yes. I watched that so many times that my mom can probably recite it. I can recite it for sure. And I'm convinced David Bowie is the reason I am the way I am. It's like David, he was so integral to like so many of us, like 80s babies, 90s kids, like whole. And so The Labyrinth is one of my favorite movies. It's still one of my favorite movies. I can sing all of the songs from it still to this day. I think it's just utterly, utterly perfect.
I have a theory that when David Bowie died, it kind of completely
Yes.
shifted the
This
world,
is why.
essentially.
Everyone
Yeah.
says it's the Cubs, but I'm like, no, no, no. The Cubs
No, it wasn't. It
won
was David
in
Bowie.
October. Like shit was going wrong before then.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but it was David Bowie.
Yeah. And then, like, I think that there are always, I think if you look back in history, there are always kind of deaths that do that. I think there's
Yes.
always, like, in every generation, there's somebody that dies that it
Yeah.
kind of just, it shifts
Paradigm.
the whole
Yeah.
vibe of the
Everything.
world, so to speak. I think David
Exactly.
Lynch was another one. I think when David Lynch
Yes.
died, everything kind of changed a little bit. The world got a little less
Right.
fun. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Their energies. And then we had David Bowie died, and then Prince died like right after. And I was
Ugh,
just like,
yeah. God,
okay, well
that one
there it goes. Like what
that
are we
one
doing
wrecked me.
here? Oh God, I was destroyed. Long time Prince love.
Me too.
Adore
Big,
it.
big Prince fan. All right. Those are good choices. I like
Thank
those.
you.
You're welcome. So, to close everything out, let everybody know where they can find you, where they can listen
Yeah.
to you, all of that stuff.
Okay, so the Cemetery Road podcast, we're on all of the things. We're on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you look for us, we are probably there. The Cemetery Row Pod is all of our socials. Our dear Lori is Lori and Sheena kind of tag team that because I do so
Mm.
much social media with my job. I'm like, please don't make me do it in my off time. They're like, we got you,
Yeah.
we got you. They're on the ball. We are elder millennials, so if they want to send us a message or anything like that, send it through Facebook. We're always
Cool.
on Facebook.
Nice.
Everyone's like, you need to get off of Facebook. I'm like, I've been on it for 20 years.
I know.
Okay. Like
That's where everybody is for me. Like,
I can't help it. I would still be on MySpace if I could. Leave me alone.
same.
I refuse to do a new one. I won't. You can't make me. So yeah, we try to do every 2 weeks. Like I said, we took a break at the holidays. Usually if one of us is traveling or something, we'll try to, because this is a hobby for us.
Right.
But yeah, so our next one is going to be cold cases. I'm very excited with mine. So listen, we have a ton of episodes about every conceivable topic you can think of.
Mhm.
And it's worth a listen, and we would be glad to have you. And I'm so glad you thought to bring me on and let me talk about.
I am annoyed at myself for not thinking of it sooner. So
No.
I am glad you're here. I'm glad you showed up. Thank you.
No, absolutely. And feel free to join us anytime you feel like it. We are always down
you let me know
to have
and
somebody.
you let me know and I'll be there.
Absolutely. We will quiz you about your favorite grave.
Oh goodness. All right. Did you have a good time? Your first experience for here on the Shangri-La Lounge? You had a good time?
Yes, this
Good.
was a blast. I'm
glad.
like I said, I'm so glad you invited me on. It was so much fun to do the art and stuff for it. And also that's the other thing is I'm starting my own marketing and kind of creative business. So
oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I'm gonna need people who need it's called Alley Cat Creative. You can find it at alleycatcreative.net. I need foundation clients right now. So I'm cheap for the time being. So if you need design, if you need art, video, all of that, I do all of that.
Very cool.
So very happy to take that on if anyone needs anything.
Right. Well, you are welcome back anytime. If you want something you want to talk about, you let me know and we will make it
Absolutely.
happen. You are welcome to come back anytime.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you again to Hannah for coming on the show. I appreciate it very, very much. Until next time, friends, you put your headlights on, you turn your radio up, and you'll find us right there between the static and the stars. Later, y'all.